All right, so we're on and cracking right now. Check this out, news. Osei the Dark Secret, Osei Kweku. It's a pleasure to have uh, the well-renowned David Banner with us, represent for hip hop culture, and definitely here to give us his take on technology. I know we also have Arizona State University as well joining us. So shout out to those of you representing ASU. David, man, how you feeling, champion?
Man, I'm wonderful, man. Wonderful, wonderful.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now I know we're talking about automated rap, the algorithm versus creativity, man. And you've had a very storied career as a producer, as an artist, as a teacher, as a motivator, and now you're certainly kind of bringing all these worlds together. I love the banner vision and where
Thank you.
everything has been, staying headed. What's your current thoughts on technology, man, and the space that we're in musically? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, how I feel about technology in general, I think that like most, especially American human beings are, I think once something becomes a part of our life or it gets between our crosshairs, it becomes the total instead of an assistance. I think technology is supposed to help the man, not be the man or woman, not think for the man or woman. I think that technology should be a part of a bigger picture. But it's amazing to me how everybody is in a rush to do something and trying to make everything easier, but most people are not getting smarter. Most people are not getting more efficient. They're just getting more lazy, you
Mm.
know. And I personally think, as it pertains to our people, I don't think you should engage in anything that your people can't fix. We become so dependent on things that if if they become broken and people decide that they don't want us to be a part of it, like we've seen in history before, then we're basically out. So I technology is a big part of my life, but like I just got back from the Smoky Mountains. Like I take fast from things. I put myself in position so I won't forget.
Mm.
I make sure that I can do just about everything that it takes to survive. I can swim, I can fight, I can cook, I can build fires. I just don't want to become a slave to anything again. We saw where that got us once, and I
Mm.
refuse to go back into those different holes. But I just really think, man, in a lot of cases, man, that we do things and we follow things because other people follow them, not necessarily because they are helpful to our community or even helpful to the sound. It's one thing that's funny to me as a musician. I'm really into mixing. One of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten in my life, and it was one of my life goals, was the last album that I did called The God Box. There were several websites that said that the mixes to that album were comparable to Dr. Dre's. And that was one of my goals, because a lot of people don't mix and master. And for those who may not know what mixing and mastering is, that's taking everything individually and mixing it individually so you can have a bigger overall sound. And then once you mix it, you master it, you mix it again as a whole once everything is put together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that, if you look at technology and you look at, okay, you start at vinyl, right, where you actually put the needle to the record. Most stuff still doesn't sound better than vinyl, and then
Mm-hmm.
stuff don't sound better than CDs, and then
Right.
CDs. It goes on and on and on, and it's like we keep going down these holes and not asking ourselves, is it better? Does it sound better? Does it make us better? MP3s within themselves are crushed sounds, that compressed music, and I personally don't like them.
Right.
But what happens is they get the American public or the world so used to hearing stuff a certain way that it just becomes okay, and okay isn't always best.
So the bar
In
has
my
been lowered,
opinion.
man. No, that's respect, though,
The
David.
bar is
That's respect.
gone, dog.
The bar is
Yeah,
gone. Okay, I like, but I felt like for you to get that acknowledgement on a Dre level, that's major, man. And you've
yeah.
done your thing in
I
a
just like to
very
get paid like Dre.
right.
Hey, let me
I
let me ask,
understand.
let me interject
I
and just ask a
understand.
quick question. You spoke on how technology has had its impact in a sense. I like to start with this. We used to play drums, now we forgot. Did technology do that?
Well, technology, it aided. I honestly think the crack era had more to do with that than technology because
Mm,
we lost a generation of men and women who were able to pass certain things down. And in my studies, like that was one of the biggest gaps between the craft being passed down. And I think when you take the crack era on top of technology, I think it creates a bigger monster. But I think the crack epidemic and what America did to our families are the reason why our people don't play drums and guitars and everything else. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? We lost a generation of elders that were able to pass those things down. And then, once we got a hold to technology and didn't necessarily need it anymore, I think it further or widened the gap. That's my personal opinion.
Hey,
mm,
David, I wanted to get your thoughts on. Obviously, I've followed you, and I know you're certainly on a very active in terms of just activism
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledgement and enlightenment. But let's talk about frequency for a minute too, man.
Mm-hmm.
How that relates to technology and maybe where we are in the world, especially for Black people. I think there's it's a consciousness. What do you feel in terms of frequencies with music in 2021 versus when you were really, what I'm saying, getting started, getting going? That's
What? Well, if you mean if you mean frequencies in a technical sense, um, that happened before our generation. If I'm correct, you all anything that I say, I'll tell, especially the people at ASU. I don't care how smart someone says they are, how many accolades they have before their name. Believe no one. Consider everything. Do your research. That was one of the greatest things my mentor taught me. I don't believe anything anyone says, but I do consider everything that everyone says. And with technology, it only takes a minute. It's just at your thumb. Um, and also, don't take the first thing that come up on Google. You got to go down about 12, 13 times before you start getting the real truth. But if I'm correct, I think one of the Beatles records were the last record that was actually put out at a high frequency. Um, One of the things that I have done research on, not a vast amount, but enough, is literally sonic warfare, and how frequencies have been used to literally suppress and depress people. Music has been put out at lower frequencies just to dampen the minds of people in general. And the thing that I don't understand is I know a lot of my friends, one of the greatest groups who mastered this was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Have you
mm.
noticed you never really heard a depressing Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
absolutely
Because they
Right.
understood frequencies, and they took it to another level. If you look at all the art, you look at all the art, listen to all of the music. I know Erica Badu is one person who is knows a lot about frequencies. I even watched her um, sort of lift the vibrations and frequencies in the room before she does a concert. She'll manipulate and play with the frequencies in the room just to make sure that all whatever was there before she got on exits the room. But I really believe that we deal in things that in lost arts that we don't know. And we're playing with things that we don't even understand. We're duplicating things that other people have done to us and are doing to the population in general. Some things good, some things bad. I won't really go into that. But I think frequencies are something that people who are interested in music should definitely learn and master. Um, People don't know this, and I don't know why, but it's been documented. But I run a multimedia company. You can go to a Banner Vision. I've done over 15, 20 major Fortune 500 commercials, from Mercedes Benz to Best Buy to Gatorade. It goes on and on and on. And I have to master frequencies to make people happy. I have to know the tones. I have to know the frequencies that make people feel better. And there was a leader who literally used frequencies. He would lower the frequency when he would, before he stepped in the room, to sort of depress the people. And as soon as he would walk out on stage and he would widen his hands, he would raise the frequencies. And people made a correlation with him and happiness, not knowing that they were being manipulated as a whole. We're manipulated all the time by other groups of people and don't know it. And a lot of times we help in the manipulation of people by continuing to push certain frequencies in music that we have no idea about.
Good point.
I'm
Good
glad
point.
y'all
Hey, man, you
asked me
said a
that,
whole
man.
lot.
I've always wanted to talk about this stuff, but nobody usually knows about it. And I really can't.
Hey,
Some of
Banner.
my,
Hey,
huh?
I just had to say. I mean, we just had. I know we can really go there. I appreciate you illuminating us a little bit, and I
Yeah.
know we could have some more conversation about that. But
Anthony
I appreciate.
Anthony Anthony Broader, from the Broader
Yeah,
Files. He's actually the man that introduced me to consciousness, and there's a large reason why I'm conscious. And it's funny, I like to, if y'all haven't read From the Broader Files, I am a student of that book. And it's amazing to me that he's not only my mentor, but one of my friends, and he's still alive. One of Most of the time when people touch us on that level, that like how Malcolm also touched my life, he was dead before I was born. So to be able to call the guy that introduced me to consciousness is one of the most amazing things in my life. And he actually was the one that introduced me to Earth, Wind, and Fire in that way, and said, "No, now that I'm hipping you to this, now go and listen to that music." And I was like, "Oh, I literally feel it."
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I mean, and this, we got a lot of questions that we want to throw at you, but since you're speaking in terms of frequencies, when you listen to the music that's going on today, right now we have a new class of artists, and it's being ushered in by female MCs. In one sense, I'm really happy, but then in another sense, when I look at the content, you speak on frequencies. I'd love to hear your views on the Cardi B's of the world, the Megan Thee Stallion, WAP. Is sex being used as a form of sexual, or not sexual, but is sex being used as empowerment for females?
Um, I think that's a question that you should ask a female artist. I'm
Mm,
very slow to speak on the behalf of women, because that within itself, we talk about white oppression all the time.
yeah.
So I have to look at oppressive tendencies that I may have or may have had. So I think that's
Mm,
I think that's something that a woman should answer. But what I will say, and I said this when I defended hip hop in front of Congress, I think we should stop looking to hip hop. See, one of the problems is black music in general. The people who ran the music, or I mean the artists. I don't mean the label. For the most part, the white people just put out the music. They didn't really have much of a say so on our culture. Now they really feel like they know our culture and own our culture, right? So the thing is, most black people do the music that they can get paid doing. If the so-called conscious community bought music, then these kids would do conscious music. But
Ooh.
there is no reward for doing conscious music. I did the God Box, I will argue to say, is one of the dopest albums of all times, period. But what we have to understand, it is a direct contradiction for me to want people to buy conscious music if they're not conscious in the first place. So what I had to do before I could ask them to buy a conscious record, I did the God Box uh 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 uh, uh I did the God Box lecture series, and my album sales went up not just because people got conscious in one lecture, but damn, he came to my town. These places where people don't think that consciousness mean anything, then people showed up just because somebody felt inclined enough to deem them worthy of this information. So what I will say, instead of people looking at rap music, saying what these artists are doing, look at it and say, this is where we are. So we need to educate the people, because back in the day in Black music, or the descendants of African, or whatever we calling ourselves today, because I'm sort of confused. Um, 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 the artists were not controlled by the streets. The artists inform the streets. Now people are scared to teach. People are scared to be leaders. So in saying that, we are putting the responsibility of people who told you they from the streets. And then it's so funny, we then want those people to be leaders. I said something a couple weeks ago. They want a rapper. If there's a problem with the water system in a community, they want rappers to understand social. I mean, with actual tech, be a technical engineer all of a sudden. You know, they want us to break down racism, which has been, I'm pretty good at it. In actuality, I've out debated Congress. I'm not saying that no one will ever out debate me. I'm not saying that I'm the smartest man in the world, but I haven't gone on CNN and lost the debate yet. Somebody's brought up great points, but I don't even think, as intelligent as I may happen to be, and I have degrees and all that kind of stuff before I became a rapper. I don't believe that I'm qualified. We are the only group of people who put unqualified people to debate the social woes of our people, and then wonder why we don't get nowhere. Rappers should be the cheerleaders for smarter people. If there's a problem about law, go get a lawyer. Don't go get a rapper. If there's a problem with water, go get people who deal in that part of science or in that section of science. I think the reason why we are, one of the reasons why we're in the place that we're in, is because music and entertainment and religion, oh my gosh, don't get me on that, and religion, they put that, we put religion in politics when politicians care nothing about Black people historically. I can't stand Republicans or Democrats. Somebody said, what wing did I support? I say neither one of them. They're part of the same bird, left or right wing. They both help that bird to fly. You know, so to me, you guys, I think rappers should rap, and that's it, and entertain. And if they happen to be smart, we're gonna get rappers who are not conscious and expect them to do conscious rap. If a person told you they was a stripper, what would you expect them to talk about besides stripping? That's where you found them. And I think I think you are asking them to turn their back on the culture that put them in a place, because conscious people did not put me on. Thugs put me on. Strippers put me on. Let's be clear. My first song was like a pimp. I was always conscious, but I was from the hood. You know what I'm saying? If you go back and turn the music off of Like a Pimp, just turn the music off and look at the video. We ran the Ku Klux Klan out of Mississippi. We pushed the crosses down. We took the Confederate flag, had it ripped up, and we threw it back at the camera. That I've always been conscious, but like Tip said, I'm hood too. Those are all those are all encapsulated in what we call a total person.
Mm. Man, that
There's a
was
lot of
deep.
complexity, Banner, in everything you said. And I think a lot of people wouldn't know. I believe you were a teacher before you actually took off with your rap career,
Mhm.
right? And
I plan on actually still being a teacher. I think most of the teachers, And I hope I don't offend anybody, but it's just the truth. I think most teachers teach theory. They don't teach things that they have accomplished themselves. I remember when I was going to entrepreneurship at LSU. I was a student at Southern, but I took a class at LSU, and every week they would have a multimillionaire or a billionaire come to their entrepreneurship classes. We didn't have that at Southern, and it was funny. I think only one of those billionaires or millionaires had ever even went to college. And the thing is, I think, especially when you're dealing with business. I saw Nipsey Hussle say this: business changes as you're teaching it. There's no way that you should have business textbooks unless you're teaching theory or definitions, because as soon as one thing works in business, it is actually an ecosystem that is living and it's changing in milliseconds, dude.
Yes.
So I think, especially in my community, I want to be a person that comes back and teach kids how to really get money. Not about theory, but how to really get money. And if I like them as a student, I might hire them on the spot. That's what our colleges should be. They should be a think tank and an incubation chamber for the intelligence of our community. But most of our community send our children to places that historically wouldn't even have let them in the doors. And I think it's a broken system, and they criticize the black football players, and they criticize our children for always leaving our communities. But you also send them to the people who have historically not done them right, and that's who they fall in love with. That's our fault. We're the only group of people that send our children off to people that hate them to teach them, and then get mad at them for having a disdain for the black community. That's our fault for sending them in the first place.
And thank you for saying what you said, Jay.
Especially, hold on. But let me say this. Especially if they don't have a plan. Like, you have some groups and communities who send their children to these places to go obtain the information with the what do you call it? With the mission statement to come back and build their communities. Let me add that caveat before,
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the reason, I mean, one, if I thought I missed the service, man, I showed up right on time. So thank you for everything that you're speaking on. And I think it's necessary, especially as we talk about, I mean, we have Arizona State, and we have to educate people on how to understand us as a collective and what the culture is. And I think that, a lot of times with hip hop, many of the artists have been the reporters, but oftentimes if the reporter is reporting on what's happening from a news perspective, they're not necessarily always the expert, but they can give you their experience. And I feel like I've seen you just evolve. I saw you in St. Louis with Dr. Claude and Killer Mike. It was a really powerful conversation on
Man,
economics.
that was such a waste, bro. Like, they should have just let him speak, man. Like, they had Dr. Claude. Actually, bro, I'm gonna tell you something. This is history. I actually have the notes. I actually have it. I asked. I'm gonna tell y'all some kids. All the kids that's out there listening to me right now. Ask. People can't say nothing but no. And if they say no, you're in the same place that you were in the first place. I saw Dr. Claude Anderson. I asked him if I could have his notes, and he was speaking directly from Powernomics, which is his book. And those of y'all who don't know who he is, he's one of the brightest minds that are still living as it pertains to the construct of economics, right? So I just walked up to him and I was like, "Sir, can I have your notes you were speaking for her?" I thought he was gonna say, "Hell no," and he was like, "Well, David Banner, yes, I'd be honored." Shit, give me all of this. Matter of fact, give me your handkerchief too. Hey,
knowledge.
Can I tell y'all something really quick, and then I'll let you finish your question? Man, I really love, if y'all are not doing something, I mean, like, bro, I really love what y'all doing, bro. It's funny when a person asks you a question and you may not have the answer, you may have a thought on it, but for a person to make you think in real time, that's rare as it pertains to an interview, and for a person to make you want to say, well, I want to expound on that question that they ask next time. Like, a lot of times I answer stuff to my best ability, And then you have to go back and make sure that the next time somebody asks you that same question, because it will come up, that you're even more prepared. And I'm proud of you guys, man. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
You one of our minds for our generation, my generation. That's a voice, and I think that we have to make sure that you're uplifted, because a lot of times, man, we suppress the voice because that gets the mind going. And
I'm
the thing
tired
about
now,
it is,
y'all. I'm not lying.
yeah,
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm tired. And we'll have to talk offline, man. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm tired,
Nah,
bro.
but listen, hey, we gotta keep it uplifted. And I say
Yeah.
that when I heard you speaking with Dr. Claude, I thought it was powerful. I thought the overall, it's like iron sharpens iron, and you got to allow it to do that, right? And I feel like I also was in another room where you were at, where the screening of American Skin, and when we talk about technology, and I say that because we're in a day and age where we're seeing a lot of things real time. This month, the George Floyd trial is supposed to take place at the end of the month, and it was technology that connected all of us on a global scale. And so sometimes I get to thinking, sometimes technology can be a bit much, and I think in the pandemic it's absolutely sped things up. But I just wanted to kind of just get your thoughts from a social consciousness standpoint, because it seems like that really flipped a switch, as with a number of other things, whether it was Ahmaud Arbery, but it was social media that shared the information. So when they say it won't be televised, I don't think they knew that this was going to be the case, but it got out there pretty quickly. How did you feel about the world response to these different things that we know have always been happening?
My take on it is a little bit different. It's great when you see things move, but just the real truth. Anything white people care about, they could change in a day if they chose to. I watch how they react to different things, and if it was a puppy, if it was a dog, if it was
That's
one of
very
their
true.
if it was one of their children. I remember speaking at an event once. It was full of white folk, and I asked them. I said, if if Trayvon Martin was white, would this be different? And every one of them said yes. Why is that? We see it was funny because when Obama was the president, a lot of liberal white people's favorite term was post-racial. And I told people, I was like, that's like me telling a woman that pregnancy doesn't hurt that bad. How in the hell would I know? And how would I have the audacity to say or even feel comfortable enough to say that I know what Black people feel like as a white person? And
Yeah.
that is white supremacy. To not have to worry about how someone else, well, not white supremacy, white insecurity, I should say. Um, but my thing about this is my problem with social media. And all of the kids out there, I want you all to think about this. And it goes back to what I was saying about there being a balance between technology and real life. If you post, bro, Michael, if you slap the living hell out of me right now on social media, and I go post it, but do nothing about you slapping me, I then become a poster child of how Michael Jockey kicked my ass. It's the same way with social media and posting all of the stuff that white folks have done historically. Okay, that's fine to bring information to it, but we see just about all of these trials, man. I did a study. Only about 10% of the cops who have video on them even go to trial. And then if they out of those who have gone to trial, less than 5% has ever been convicted. So if you look at it, we talked about algorithms. If we look at it as an algorithm, America has spit in the face of a group of people that they brought over here. They brought them over here, worked them for free, then let them free and taxed them. Then turn around and beat their ass and get mad because they here. You brought me here. And if we are Native Americans, like some Black people feel, then you came to our land. Like literally, and that's the problem. The problem is that we want to post and we want to talk about something that we are not willing to stand for offline. I don't want to continue talking. I want to have fun too. I want to go to some of these strip club parties and swim and pop bottles too. I honestly believe that conscious people don't party enough and unconscious people party too much. Like I want to have fun too, but there is no space. I am pushing when I debate or when I have the mind about social activism. I don't want to be that for a life. Like I don't like when people call me an activist. I'm not an activist. I'm a black man that has power, and that is my job in my community. Everybody want to be an alpha male or alpha female, but what you don't understand, alphas are at the beginning, middle, and end of the pack. In order for you to get the food first and the sex first, you got to have certain responsibilities. So you want to be the alpha, but you don't want to fight for your people. You don't want to stand for your people. You don't want to live for, die for your people, stand for your people. People want the residual aspects of being something that has a lot of responsibility. So if every time that I post something, I post it with responsibility, I post it and I'm ready to do something. I want to be very honest with you all, and maybe I shouldn't say this online, but I will. There's something that happened to uh, to a black individual, and I'm going to speak vaguely, just because of the way that the law is set up. It was on video that this cop had done it beyond the shadow of a doubt, right? Black people actually went to the city where it had happened. They went to the police station. Guess where all the police were? At his house, where the black people should have been. It's like we all love the process of complaining. We love the feeling of being marching and protesting. But if it's really about it, like if you do something to a Russian ain't gonna march. A Russian coming to your crib. I mean that old girl with the high top fade off Rocky, she coming to your house. You know what I'm saying? So like to me, to post things and to communicate things and you are not willing, because it's funny, man, we really think one day that white people gonna grow up, gonna wake up and be better. And I want to say this to the so-called good white folks too, is that whether we admit it or not, even my good so-called white friends really don't want racism to stop. They just don't like to see black folks die. But the truth is racism benefits their children. It's preferential treatment for their children. Their children are not out there dying, and as long as black folks are in front of those bullets, their children are not. And for us to believe that they're going to convict their children, their uncles, their aunties, their grandparents, because like even when Trump became president, black people act like, and some white people acted like all of these racist white people came out of nowhere. These folks were 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. They've always been there. If you look at those old Klan pictures, it was droves of white people. You think that their families didn't pass that along to their children and they didn't pass that along to their children? Like social media is good, to cheerlead. But again, the same way that we talked about the people who should be leading those movements, we should be posting with hopes to do things. We actually really feel like the same people that we are criticizing are all of a sudden going to turn around and do something about it. When white people decided they wouldn't want dogs to die no more and suffer no more, they sent Mike Vick ass to jail real quick. Beyond the
Hey
shadow of a
man,
doubt, he wasn't even there.
And he
So
wasn't even there.
what I'm saying is social media is cool, but it's a safe cop out to not get on the streets and do real work. I'm not saying that it's not a part of it. Yes, it's a part of it. I believe our children should be on social media while the grown-ups are out in the streets doing something. When I went to Ferguson, that was the biggest complaint. Those revolutionaries were from the age of 15 to the age of about 32. And they were like, hey, all of our elders, they disappeared when the sun went down and when CNN went in the house. I just think that social media is just a component of a bigger problem. This is an economic problem. This is a physical problem that has to be dealt with economics or physical prowess, my opinion.
Right on. Let me switch lanes with that same, uh, keeping in line with social media and relating it to music. What would hip hop be without social media? And right now, you look at this era of where things are going. The new wave is new dance challenges, put out a hashtag and let that thing go viral. I almost wonder, is social media the new demo tape?
Uh well, I mean, it's really no different for us. It was. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It was the strip club. If the girls didn't dance to it, we didn't put it out. So if you want to see how people react to it physically before you put a lot of money into it, I don't think it's much different. It just changed platform. If if
Mm,
if if people react to it and people dance to it, I mean, I would do the same thing.
right.
I just the problem is, and I want to say this. This is very important, and I believe this with all of my heart. I don't believe that technology is the death of Black music. I believe the way that Black people feel about themselves is the death of Black music. I had a conversation about Justin Bieber last night. Let's just take it back to the CD days when Justin Bieber first came out. If you had a bootleg, if you had a bootleg Justin Bieber CD and you tried to sell it to a Justin Bieber fan, they would want to fight you for taking money away from Justin Bieber. Like they are a believer. They believe in the Bieber. Like the thing is, if we knew or cared about the artists who we taking out of their pockets, the problem is if we don't love ourselves, how could we ever want to love somebody else? Because we're always cheap about the things that come to us or pertain to us, but we'll spend all of our money on elite groups of people who don't even deem us important enough to put us in advertising. If you look at an artist, as soon as they get money, they go to buy the most elite old white thing that you can get, the most elite white clothes, the most elite white cars. And if you look at most, if you look at most, even on my last album, I didn't even put my name on it because I didn't want you to be distracted from what's inside. It's like in
Mm,
order to show our value, we have to commandeer or be a part of things that are oppressive to us, people who don't even want our money. So like for me, if we really loved each other, it wouldn't matter what platform. Like even with streaming music, you don't
mhm.
have to go to Apple to get an artist music. Like that's one of the biggest cop outs and one of the saddest things I ever seen. And only two people I really saw really talk about it was me, Ti, and Prince. But like
Mm,
it's so big that if you don't do it, then you won't get heard almost. But like literally all streaming is is whatever the streaming company is, they just play your music over and over all day. And then you go there instead of going to the artist. And the artist going through labels, white labels, were only getting at the most, baby, 19 cents. If you was Master P, that was another that was just he was an exception to the rule and one of the reasons why they tried to get him out of the game. But as soon as we started figuring music out, how to press our own CDs, we had our own record stores. As soon as Black people had conquered the business of music, is when they started streaming. And what they did was it was such a player move. They went and got the biggest white artist, and then they went and got the biggest Black rapper, and they paid them a whole lot of money to support streaming. And then all the artists went and did what they did. When at first we were getting pennies on the dollar, now we're getting fractions of pennies. That's hard. You can barely equate how much money you get a stream.
mm.
So it's like we run down these black holes again for technology that we don't understand and we haven't even researched. I think if artists would break down what they're getting, I don't think most people would, but I guess now, since it's so easy to make music, and some artists are making it literally on their laptop, I guess they don't care about not making no money when they didn't really spend no money to make it. But I spent $350,000 on my last album.
Right.
Because I want a certain level of quality, whether people are into it or not.
Right.
I'm going to do the best that I can possibly do. But I just think we should be very, very. And Jay-Z is always that dude is so smart. He saw it and saw that it was something that he couldn't fight against. So he went and invested in the company. And if anybody gonna stream it, it's gonna be me. So instead of fighting the wave, he went along with the wave and then learned how to benefit off of it, which I think is genius, especially when you can't stop it right now, at least.
Right. Right. Let me go ahead, Osei.
No, I was just gonna say, in terms of owning your data, Banner, I think that you've done an excellent job, and I understand with the guide box and Banner Vision. When you expressed about being more than just one thing, a multimedia company, I thought that was amazing, and I think that's a lesson for us in terms of just evolving and staying open to the evolution, whatever that might be, because the messaging needs to get out there, right? And I feel like I've seen you do so many different things, even with hidden colors and speaking in different ways. How do you feel right now? Like you've really taken ownership of your image, your brand, showing other people how we could do the same thing, investing in yourself, and also I think redefining where we, particularly as Black people, we for so long we were forced to see value because white people told us this is what's valuable, not us, but a lot of their likenesses and things like that. And so we aspired to be those things, which in turn, I feel like we've started to take back ownership of who we are, not put all the value in Gucci and all these other brands, as you mentioned, that really don't care about our community and don't invest in our community in any way until there is pressure placed on them. And I said what I said about George Floyd because I felt like that was the one spark. Even if it's not the answer, I felt like it's a spark that now that everybody's paying attention, we need to talk about our value as consumers, because I think that is where Black people have had the most value, is in our economic consumption, and starting to redirect that and spend that in our own community first and then go outside, because we have to build ourselves up, and we do realize no one is coming to save us except us. So I wanted to understand your thought process with that, because from a tech standpoint, you're doing your thing with a band of vision. I need some of that merch myself, there, David. I'll
Oh
support it
We
man,
both
at the
do.
same damn time.
I was gonna say first of all, I mean you said it all. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Inside of the question, you said it. But I'll tell you all this. Just being. I think what ended up happening, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I try to read something every morning from every or just about every religious aspect as I can every morning, just to have a wider view. And I was reading this Buddhist book once, and it said that if nothing embarrasses you, then you're no better than a dog. And I'll say in music, if my dad used to say when I was young, it's not what you say yes to that makes you a man or woman, it's what you say no to. And from a spiritual perspective, I believe that God isn't yes, God is no. God is discipline. God is what you want, what you won't do. So like what won't you do for money is the biggest question. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's sad, but it's one of the reasons why I got back into music. Because I was one of the people who ushered into our children money over everything. When we should have told them, yes, money is important, economics is important, but not in lieu of your protecting our women, protecting our culture, um, um, protecting our how we look. All money ain't good money. I even notice in the streets now. People can buy their way into certain things that when I was young you couldn't buy your way into. You could probably buy yourself out of an ass whooping, but you couldn't buy yourself into the ranks of things. I now see how kids justify certain things because at the end they say, well, he got the bag. And if you really, there's a book that really helped me understand this. It was called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And it broke down how money is just basically the paper that money is printed on is actually probably very soon going to be more valuable than the actual money itself, and how America has been printing money for a very long time that has no value or has no gold or has nothing behind it. So really, we're just no different than what they're starting to do with Bitcoin now. It's basically numbers that people agree on that have value, but soon it's all going to drop out. So if people, America has no problem with giving money because, first of all, I believe it's our thought process, bro. Is a person to give you $1 million if you're gonna give 1,000,001 back? If we're not gonna do anything to sustainable to really hold on to it, if you look at like all the money that basketball players have made outwardly, I'm not saying that some people hadn't made great investments, but outwardly, I can only really name 3 or 4 that really did something that's sustainable for our community. Not even that they would use it for our community, but they're a sustainable entity. So like with me, bro, the thing that I'm the most proud of is that I run me. And I want to say this to the children or the young men and women, I should say, y'all ain't children no more. That the biggest thing for me is to be my own boss. About 10 years ago, I decided I'm not blaming white folks no more. I'm not blaming I'm not going to talk or criticize other rappers. And in my office, on the wall in front of my desk, I'm talking about in 20-inch letters, I put on my wall, it's my fault, even when it isn't. If someone is bullying you, after the first time they bully you, it's your fault. And parents would say, oh, why would you say that? Well, you got 3 choices. It may not technically or spiritually be your fault, but we know as men, the spiritual aspect and the soft side ain't got nothing to do when somebody's beating on your ass. You got 3 choices. You either find somebody to fight for you, you either learn how to fight yourself, or you move. Those are the only 3 choices that you have. And if you stay emotional, even though it may not technically or spiritually be the right thing, people are never going to stop. So you have to change you. In every situation in life, I believe the answer is me or I. Nobody is going to change the way that they act, because in most cases, it brings a certain level of mental enjoyment, financial freedom to other people to be oppressive or to be mean or be bullies. So you have to give them incentive to change their mind. I usually think the physical or the economic way has a tendency to motivate people a little bit quicker. But I just want to be free. There's a lot of, I just have to be honest with you guys, man. There's a lot of moves that I could have made where I could have made a lot more money. And I could have been bragging about the money that I brought in. But one of the things that I think that the world has done, and I'm not blaming Apple for this, but it's the everything, the iTunes, iMusic. Like music used to be a community thing for us. We used to run home and watch MTV together. I was in the South, but I was listening to hip hop. So if I got a Mobb Deep CD or tape, we would all get together and make tapes or listen to it together. Now we have our own playlist. It's my problem. It's me, me, me. We have become so selfish. I believe, when I go and lecture, I ask the kids, I say, how many people want to be a millionaire or a billionaire? And about 90% of the room raises their hand. Then I'll ask them why. Most, I will say up to about 85 to 87% of the kids, when I ask them why they want to be a millionaire, it's always for selfish reasons. It's always to help my family, to help my friends, so I can get the things that I want. I want to be a billionaire so I can buy water for my people, because I believe that we'll never have sustainable freedom unless we acquire things that sustain life. If we don't grow food, if we don't have hospitals, if we don't buy water, if we don't buy land, if we don't buy the things that sustain life, the people who own that could continue to keep their foots off in our behinds, because though you need those things to live. So I'll say, I ask kids who, especially Black kids who are in college, what is your mission statement? What are you doing for somebody besides yourself? If you're coming from the East Coast, the West Coast, or you're coming from the Midwest, and you're coming to the South, what's your responsibility to the community that you're living in? If you're at ASU right now, what are you doing for the surrounding community? What are you doing for those people in that town who are letting you stay in their town? There's a responsibility that comes along with being in places. The courtesy of people allowing you in their areas. I believe we got to get back to doing things for people. My career changed when I became less selfish, because this is the real truth that I learned about the universe. Money is a current. That's why they call it a currency. And in order for you to allow it to build, you have to let it flow. The problem is our currency goes in a straight line when it should go in a circle. And if it went in a circle, it would build, because it would go around more and more and more, and people would add to it, people would add to it, people would add to it. And then you slowly take as you need. But other communities have created a circle. Our finances goes in a straight line and it never comes back.
Yeah,
That's heavy.
yeah. I mean, it's so many jewels here, bruh. I don't know, Mike. I don't know what our time is like. I mean, we could do this. We can go there that day.
I got 5 more, bro. I got 5. I was supposed to be gone, man, but I really believe whether it's for the students now, we don't know none of us know who we are in history. I don't believe most leaders knew who they were. I don't think Malcolm saw himself. I don't think Bob Marley saw himself. Most of us, if we knew who we were in the construct of time, then we would probably treat ourselves better. And I really think, we got on a vibe, and it was important to allow it to go just a little bit further, because there may be one person who is actually, a man told me one time, he said, David Banner, you may not be the Jesus, you may be the Moses. You may be the person that opened the door for the person who's going to save us. It might not be about you. So, but I got 5 more, y'all.
I let me chime in. Here's a question. Nas, what is it? EPMD, Osei, where he talks about Clubhouse, the mobile app Clubhouse, and then he even chimes in on Microsoft, Google, and Apple, and really talking about, are we selling out in so many ways? But I'm going to chime that same question. Microsoft, Google, Apple, they're collecting data from music streams. We understand the importance of data. Data can be used for website, collecting fan base, mailing lists, songs that are streamed, and how they're reported. I'm curious, from your standpoint, how do you feel about these tech giants having that much power? Because their power is pretty much, you've been in the White House, you've already spoken there, but the new White House is really Silicon Valley.
Yeah. First of all, I would say anybody that want to support me, go to davidbanner.com. I always give my information, but we talked about the clothes, and I never really told people where they can go and support me. davidbanner.com, davidbanner.com, davidbanner.com. I was watching one of my really good friends. His name is Young Guru. He's the engineer, mixer. He's, for Jayz, and he said something so powerful. He said that companies sell our data all the time, but we give it away for free. One of the biggest things I learned as I grew as a businessman is we give away stuff just because we want cash money, and we're so hungry for the money on the front end. We're selling things that we don't, and giving away things that have more value. Like when you look at us, and you look at Facebook, and you look at Instagram and all of these different places, and we think it's about pictures. We think it's about talking to our friends. No, it's about collecting your information. And then they so gangster that they'll turn around because we don't read anything because we're such in a rush. It was funny, man. They did this. I think it was on what's the show Cartman is on? The little cartoon
South
with
Park.
South Park. They did a really funny piece on South Park where they clicked that, they were just updating the computer and they just clicked it, and they had gave away their freedom, and the police that came and picked them up because we don't know what we be clicking away. So when we be updating these apps like on on Instagram, you don't even own your own pictures anymore. Like they own them. They literally own your pictures. So we give away things in the sake of having fun or for a couple of dollars. And I think it's sad, but this is the real truth. The people who are in Silicon Valley, they're human beings who just take more time to think. And if we would take the same time and pull out, like I gotta be honest with you, I didn't go to Clubhouse because I've given so much time, so much of my intellectual property to these other spots. I'm not gonna do that again. Like they keep wrangling us up and running us through the same system, and them and their friends become billionaires.
Right.
And the truth is, I want to just tell y'all something about being rich. Once you figure it out, it's really easy. You do the same thing over and over and over again. You and your friends do the same. That's really what politics is. One of my homeboys said, David Banner, you really think politics is about power, don't you? He said, it ain't the kind of power you think it is. He said, all politics is a group of friends getting together, passing laws so it'll be easier for them to make money. So I'll be like, hey, Jai, you go run for mayor or governor. You bring down the taxes in this community. We're gonna build this for this, and then as soon as you not mayor or governor no more, then you can come and get in. We'll hold your money in escrow. Period. That's all it is. That's all it is. We can get emotional about it. That's really all it is. So the thing is that we have to be smart enough to play the same game, or at least smart enough to hold our constituency. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I believe this in politics. We give our constituency to people who never historically support our woes or support our community without them even asking. There's nothing wrong with you helping people. There's nothing involved. I mean, there's nothing wrong with investing your time in certain technology, but make them ask or pay you for it. I never forget in my marketing class when I was at Southern, they used to pay people to wear those Coke t-shirts because you're doing nothing but advertising somebody's brand. And now people are paying to be walking advertisement for people who don't care for your community. And I will tell the students this, and I warn you this, whether you believe me or not, whether you think you're a role model, whether you think you're an activist, everything that you do sends out a statement about how you feel about yourself and your community. The way you comb your hair, who you marry, who you date, the clothes you wear, where you spend your money. For those who are illuminated to that level of information, you tell everything about yourself when you walk into a room. So I just think we should be a little bit more conscious of it. And what I'll say to everybody, if you have ever been a fan of David Banner, I'd like to just thank you all for allowing me to grow up. Because a lot of artists who make the outward changes that I make, people don't support them no more. I look at Chuck D. If Chuck D could get one hit record out, he'd probably be a billionaire. The information that he's been able to accrue now and the rights that he understands as it pertains to music, he don't need but a half a hit.
A half a hit.
And I am grateful, man, to be able to grow in front of people. I'm actually proud of myself for being brave enough to make mistakes in public. And for you all to value my opinion, whether a little or a lot, I'm grateful.
Thank you. We have a new product that we're rolling out called bosstalk.io. And unlike the OnlyFans of the world, these other platforms, this is one where you could speak and you get paid. You're a brother where there's people, and this is a part of disruption of education. where people can now tap into you directly and gain some knowledge, and you get paid. We're going to be talking to you more about that because you've been an activist. I don't want to use that word anymore, but because we want to rest that, but you've been keeping it, teaching the people for quite some time. And I love the fact of how, your career, like a pimp to you're our leaders. I was with Dr. George Frazier the other day, and we made the comparison between the rapper as today's new pastor. And to hear the OG give his knowledge, General Bray in the military give his knowledge, I really look at you among a certain class of elite rappers who become, in some way, that teacher. You in there with Nipsey. You're in there with Jayz.
Michael, let me tell you something, bro, just so I can be clear about something. I'm not shunning being an activist, because what I'll tell the students is, if you want to be an activist, just get active. If you want to start a movement, just move. The reason I say that is because my dad taught me that you don't sit in accolades when it's something that you're supposed to do. Helping my community, pushing things forward. Like, I've taken a lot away from my community by being a rapper, still do. So to balance out the universe, it is my responsibility to give something back. And what I'll tell people is, don't allow other people to define what your activism is. My chef, I know one of the way they kill our activists is through food. I don't eat many people's food. If I come to y'all school and speak, I ain't drinking nothing but water, and it better be capped. Like, I learned that from the Nation of Islam. And I told my chef, like, you feeding our people, teaching our people, making our people healthy without them even knowing is a form of activism. And we have to define activism for ourselves. And what I'll say is, it needs to be something that you love doing anyway. Like me reading and studying and teaching our children, how to move and how to maybe make their future easier. That's what I'm supposed to do as an elder. That's the reason why I didn't Beijing my beard. I want these kids I'm serious. I want these kids to see that I'm an elder and I'm somebody that they can get right knowledge from. And so I sit in that. I just wanted y'all to know that I'm not shying away from being an activist or turning my nose up. I'm just saying that I don't want to, because one of the things that I hate the most, and I don't mean no disrespect, is preachers and politicians. And I'll tell you why. No disrespect if you're a good one, but if you are getting paid to do something that you're supposed to do anyway, then you are not controlled or compelled by what's right or the spirit of God. You're controlled by finance. Because if I give you my money, you're going to have to do stuff the way that I tell you to do it. So in saying that, my activism doesn't come from accolades or me making money from the activism aspect of it. That's the reason why I never tell people that I will always be a rapper, because by being a rapper, I can say what I want to and not be held to my constituents. I do things I'm compelled by the spirit. So I am doing it for the right reason. Once I call myself an activist, then it's a professional job. I don't want it to be a profession, Jack. No,
that's
disrespect
real,
meant, brother.
No, I love it. I love it.
Nah, Banner. Man, we want to say thank you, brother. Sincerely, man. We love you. We love what you're doing. You're a voice for our people and so many others that can't be heard or speak. So we don't take that lightly. And I hope that everybody who was a part of this conversation was able to pick up a lot of the game and the jewels that, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of knowledge. If you want to put it in your lamp, you can illuminate yourself with. So, we want to continue that. And just thank you, man, for coming on, you know what I'm saying, and giving us your time. Time is the most valuable asset, brother. We don't take it lightly.
Thank you. One thing that I'll say in closing that I want to say, if any students are watching, is one of the biggest things that I learned is how to be still. This world and technology will have us moving in our minds. Actually, I had started forming insomnia. And I actually found out one of the reasons why I had insomnia is because I'm actually a high level gamer. And so like the colors are so bright and the games move so fast now that once you stop playing the game, your mind is still running at the same pace for like 2 or 3 hours after you finish playing the game. So one of the reasons why it was so hard for me to go to sleep, because my mind was still running. In order for you to truly be successful in life, I mean, that's something that's sustainable for generations, you have to bring things from the unseen. When I lecture a lot, I said, do you want to be the person that creates the iPhone or the person that creates the update? And in order for you to pull things from the unseen and to create things people have never seen before, you have to get away from the noise. In order for you to be an original artist, a lot of times you got to stop listening to everybody else and you have to go inward. So the biggest thing that I've learned as an artist is how to be still. You know, it's funny, y'all. I'm sitting on the porch. Like I used to laugh at my grandparents in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Like, how in the hell can they sit on the porch for 8, 9, 10 hours? And honestly, this is where God talks to me. I just came from the Smoky Mountains. You know, my staff always say when I start getting a little mean, yeah, you need to go sit up on the mountain. Like, I don't care what people, everybody is driving fast. Everybody is on a move to be something. I'm telling you all, the true jewels of life are in stillness. And if you don't hear anything else that I say today, learn to be still, please. Thank you.
Man, Banner, thank you. Thank you, Regina.
Oh, man.
Making it happen. What,
Easy,
hey, Banner,
man.
if they need to catch the podcast with you, can you go ahead and give them that information as
Yep.
well?
The David Banner podcast is on every platform that you can get podcasts. The podcast is coming back. We're actually doing some things that no other podcast are doing, man. We're about to transform how we do stuff. And what I'll tell people about our podcast, because people are really thrown off by my podcast. I know a lot of people thought that my podcast was going to be fire and brimstone, just knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. What I realized is that, you know, I honestly wanted my podcast to be, I saw Mr. Rogers documentary and it touched my heart. It really, really did. And it was so funny when we were talking about stillness. He actually said in that documentary, and I never noticed this until I went back and watched it after he said it. He said, like, sometimes he'll say stuff and he'll just be quiet. He said, because you got to give kids an opportunity and people an opportunity. When you hit them with real knowledge, you got to give them an opportunity to digest that. And I never forget at that time that because they teased black people about not being able to swim, but there was a time where we couldn't go to beaches and we couldn't go to swimming pools and they were not letting black people in the swimming pool. So he took the black guy that was on set and he went and got one of them pools that we used to have like in the country, like little plastic pools. He filled it up with water and they both took their shoes off and just put their feet in the water. And I don't know, bro, I'm not sappy at all, but bro, that touched my heart so much. He said more than getting up on a podium in front of 50 million people and, you know, fussing and cussing. Just literally come, and they didn't even talk about politics. They just say, hey, man, come take off your shoes and come sit in the pool. And literally, they put their feet in the pool and they just talk. And I said, I want to make people feel like if everybody is conscious, then I want the most ratchet person to feel okay with coming to my podcast. And then once they feel comfortable, then, you know, we're going to bring in, I'm trying to buy the rights to Dr. John Henrik Clarke's speeches. And like on the days that we don't do the podcast, I put some real dope beats like over some of his speeches. I want my podcast to be a place where everybody feels comfortable, regardless of your intellect level. You know what I'm saying? You know, and some of you, you know, people who think you're smarter than everybody else, I want your ass to feel uncomfortable when you come to my podcast. Nah. But David Banner podcast, man, anything that you need, but the most important thing for me is making sure that you support davidbanner.com. Anywhere that you all want to follow me, you can just go to David Banner. I've been able to secure the names. And the biggest thing that I'll ask of people is just support us. You know, we say that we want more out of our mouth, but we have a tendency to go give our money to people who care the least about us. I hate that. And I want to warn people, and then I have to go, you guys. My friends who are like me, they're feeling like I'm feeling. Good people are tired of being spit on. Good people are tired of dedicating their lives. I want to tell y'all this. Is really sad. I don't usually tell this, but I really have enjoyed myself, so I do want to tell the story.
Appreciate
One of my mentors said that his mentor was one of the top people in the movement of helping Black people move forward, but he was very light skinned. As a matter of fact, he was so light skinned that a lot of people thought he was white, but he wasn't. He said at the end of his life, he wished that he would have passed for white. And for a man who, if he was the man that my mentor said loved his people as much as that man did and went through so much hell, you know, I wish we would do better by the people who have proven themselves to care about us. For some reason, we feel like it's their obligation to do what they do. And in a lot of cases, they could take those smarts and do stuff for themselves. They could say, I, like everybody else does. And I would just ask for people, man, I'm not saying to be a sucker and blindly follow people, but for people who have historically had our back, go buy them a cup of coffee. Just say thank you. I spoke in Houston about a year ago, and this about a year and a half ago at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And this young lady walked up to me and she gave me $20. And I was like, love, what is this for? She said, my mom said, when someone comes and do a good job, you always tip. And I took that $20, and when it got me a Hennessy and Coke, and it was the greatest tasting Hennessy and Coke that I ever had because she gave it in love. And believe it or not, that meant the world to me. Y'all be blessed, okay?
I appreciate David. If students want to do an intern for Banner Vision, if they want to apply, send resumes and maybe learn from you, would that be something you're interested in? We're really upselling future of work.
It would be something that I'm interested in the very near future. I am really in the executive aspects of really expanding my company.
Yes, sir.
And my thing is, I don't like hiring people. I'm gonna tell y'all something really quick about my interns, and it's funny because I don't have a place to send y'all right now, but I want to tell you how we do our interns. So this may help other people. I don't believe in slave labor. My interns, if they create something that help make money for my company, I pay them like I pay everybody else. I may not be, if you're an intern, I may not pay you monthly, but if you get in my company and you create something that helps bring revenue to my company, I'll pay you. So what I'll tell you all is just give me about a year. I got something that's coming up that's going to change the scope of everybody that I know. Like it's that big. And I'm doing something now that I didn't even dream of doing before. And y'all keep asking me questions. I will keep talking. I gotta go. But
right.
But I'll tell y'all the one thing that people didn't teach me, that nobody taught me to recalibrate my dreams. Recalibrate my dreams. And I basically, if you really think about dreams without being, in your ego, most of us, we sort of look at our dreams, and our dreams are going to take a lifetime to accomplish. At least, and nobody ever told me like you need to have new dreams on deck all the time. And so I went through one of my worst depressions, not because stuff was going bad. It was just because I was in a state of purgatory and I didn't know what to do next. And like now, like the things that I dream about, the things that I want to do, I'm not joking when I say I want to own water. I want to own sustainable land so that we won't have to worry about, racism and white supremacy. We can create a microcosm within our communities like every other community has done. Like, cause I can't understand why you got little China, little Russia, little everything. Why can't we have a little Africa? Why we can't have a place that's safe for our people, that's housed, that's protected, policed, sustained. Like you talked about the spending power of Black people. We have the spending power of a small country by ourselves. But the problem is that we don't see each other fit to spend with. So those are my dreams. Is to really give people a place. I'll tell y'all this, and then I'm gone. I gotta go. I'm actually put my finger on the button now. My biggest dream was to create a movie company. And one of the reasons why I wanted to create this movie company is because I heard this story once. It was this guy, he had a daughter. His daughter was like 6 or 7. And she was a black, beautiful, beautiful, dark skin, young queen. She ran in, she was crying uncontrollably. She said, Daddy, are there going to be black people in the future? He said, what? She said, Daddy, are there going to be black people in the future? He said, why are you saying this? She said, because I was watching cartoons and I didn't see any. I was watching Star Wars and I didn't see any. I was watching Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Aquaman. I didn't see any. When people make sci-fi, they're preparing you for a future. And if you are not in it, they're preparing you for a future without you. So I want to create content where our children, they won't know not being able to be Wonder Woman or Superman. We'll create our own. And if we do the right thing, we'll sustain our own. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Right.
Peace.
All right. Thank you, Jay.